Hi everybody, Mehta here, and thank you for once again joining me on my journey as I go through my favorites list on fanfiction.net. I know it's been a while. I got tired, and I was just delayed starting this. It was really no excuse. But yeah, for those of you that don't know, I've been reading fan fiction for a very long time, and like 5 years ago, I decided to go back through the favorites list of the first site that I started reading it on, and reread all the ones that are on my list to decide if I still thought they deserved to stay on my favorites list or not. So, I've started reading back in like 2005, 2006. There were some stories from around there. We've now reached June 2014, so let's just dive into these stories, starting with Worm Loops by GBear605. So this is a time loop collection, like snippet collection in the vein. This is very much following the style of the Innortal time loops, which were on my list a long time ago. If you don't know what those are basically just like the style of these fics is more just here's the prompt. We have this property, they're in a time loop. There's one person who's always going to be aware and like knowing what's going on in the time loop. Other people can join, whatever, and it's community. Like everybody can write snippets and whatever. And these fics are more just collections of the snippets from various other forums that people have done. Um, I enjoyed this stuff a lot, especially because it allows for a lot of small rapid fire like jokes and like small things that are funny. And it's also just this is Worm, which is a very big popular franchise for me and for fan fiction, and it's crack Worm, which is not something I have a lot of. I try, and so whenever Worm dives into the insanity and like craziness of it, I always enjoy it a lot. um, I like the premise, as I said, and basically every franchise's loops that I've read, I've pretty much enjoyed. This one's no exception. There's tons of tiny loops that are really entertaining for me, and there's also a bunch. This one actually has quite a few that are continually showing up and actually having a longer story, and it even dives into making a backstory for and like mythos for the reason why the loops exist. So it's all interesting. I did enjoy this. It's gonna stay on my list. Number two is Not Human by Forensica X. This is a Harry Potter Doctor Who crossover where Harry is raised by the Doctor, though not really. It's not really the Doctor. It's raised by Rose and the Doctor duplicate that ends up staying with her at the end of one of the seasons. It's in that offshoot universe. But like in the end, like this story's fine. It goes through Harry's first year at Hogwarts. There seems to be a bunch of surface level changes that are okay, but they don't really do anything. Like I said, like it's surface level, so it's like okay, Harry has a new tie, but still friends with the same people. He lived with the Doctor, so he has like a little bit of quirkiness, but I mean the same beats still happen. And I just found myself uninterested with the story. Um, yeah, it just never grabbed me. I just was blowing through this because without really retaining anything. And I think there's just better instances of this crossover of Doctor Who and Harry Potter that if you want you can find. So this is gonna fall off my list. Number three is Acceleration by The-Chibi-Poe. This is a worm crossover with a certain magical index or scientific index. I can't remember what it's exactly called, but and this is where Taylor has the power of, I believe the guy's name is just Accelerator, um, and it's an OP Taylor fic where basically it moves all the problems from actual fights to more emotional and about reputation instead. And I really enjoyed this fic. Though I could see people considering it to be rushed, I definitely feel like the ending's a little bit rushed. There's basically no downtime to breathe in this story. It's very much events happening one after another with basically no breaks. Um, which does lead to some things like the relationships that we're supposed to care about, like the friendships that she makes, all mainly growing off screen in a sense, which can be a little jarring. It's also jarring that there's no the like editing of this, like the way it's structured. There's no line breaks to denote scene transitions. There's no indications when a POV changes, which does happen frequently, until you just realize, like after four sentences, oh, this person's talking about Taylor, and this is about this paragraph. So this previous stuff was not from Taylor's POV; it was from somebody else's POV. Like it's that can be a little jarring. However, like I still enjoyed this. Like obviously the power stuff, like when Taylor gets to show off and goes out, that's cool. But what's also nice is I think her relationship with Dinah in this one is really good. Um, and even her relationship with Artsmaster, though again like a little shortened and like it feels like there should have been more to make it hit more, is off screen, but it still feels genuine enough to lend enough heart to the story. And I think the story's good enough that it overcomes flaws, and the fact that it's complete for its own sense. It doesn't end with Worm, but they end it after the Slaughterhouse 9 arc, and that's this book's completion. I would recommend this. I give it a look, and it's going to stay on my list. Number 4. Is it number 4? Yes, it is number 4. All right, so number 4 is Yet Still Even More Fragments by Dogbert Carroll. I don't really have much to say about this. This is the 5th like one shot unfinished ideas bin collection story that Dogbert Carroll put out. I really don't know why he wanted to do it. He said just he wanted to keep the chapter numbers down, but like there's really no need. But again, this is another 75 ideas that he's thrown out there that I enjoyed, just like all the other collections from this author. Especially the fact that there's a bunch of these that he has spun off and continued on in their own stories, and I've enjoyed them. But I still enjoy this here, and if you want a quick laugh, this is pretty much going to guarantee to give it to you, so it's going to stay on my list. Next is The Universe by Foxborough Salts, and this is a Persona 3 crossover with Haruhi Suzumiya, which takes place in the world of Persona 3, like follows Minato as our main character, with just Haruhi thrown in as an extra complication. And Minato basically takes the Kyon role of being Haruhi's like main connection. But it also is a twist because Minato's not normal like Kyon is. So it's not just a replacement. It's not the same dynamic. It's a slightly different thing, along with also the other shit going on during this time. I think it works. Like Haruhi slides into the Persona 3 world without really much hassle. The changes she brings are interesting. The author really starts to dive into more eldritch and like otherworldly nature of the powers stuff as time goes on, and the ending is like choose your own ending of Lovecraftian like appropriateness and tone. I really did enjoy this. I will fully admit, if you do not know how Persona 3 goes, you will get lost very quickly because this jumps like this story is complete, finishes the whole thing, and it's really really short in comparison to how long Persona 3 is. So like if you don't know how the story flows, you are going to get lost. But if you do enjoy it and you like Persona 3 like I do, highly recommended. It's going to stay on my list. So number 6 is Knights and Swords by Kujikiri21. And this is another one where I don't have much to say because it's just another story where the author had an idea and then just never actually wrote the story. Just this idea is, hey, Shiro and Arturia, Saber, after they go the fate route and destroy the Grail, he made a wish right at the end, so the Grail throws him into the high school DxD verse, and the Great Red gave him some buffs, so they're a bit stronger. but like that's it. And the actual chapter, like it goes 35 words with basically doing nothing. We just get them existing, like showing up in the world, and then a fallen angel like spies on them, and there's a small fight, and then something else attacks them. But like we get the start of something else attacking Saber, and that's the end. Like it's just nothing. Like it's an idea, didn't go anywhere. It's not gonna. You don't need to see this. It's gonna fall off my list. Okay, and the last story for this video is All Hail the Time Lord's Son, again by Forensica X. And this is a sequel to Not Human, second story I talked about in this video. And this is Harry's second year. Is not complete, so it doesn't finish. And like I didn't care. Like same reason with the first one. I didn't get invested in the first story. This one did not draw me through. And you know, even though I say that as like an obvious, like that is not necessarily true. There are stories that I've read on my list where I had like multiple stories and I kicked off the first one, but I did have the sequel stay on my list. Granted, I only think that happened once or twice, but it has happened. This was not one of those times. I was just bored. They did bring more changes, like Rose and the Doctor's duplicate end up becoming teachers at Hogwarts. And there's other things like the first 4 chapters are just Harry meeting up with his friends during the summer and like doing summer vacation things. And that's okay. I just didn't care and it didn't connect with me, and I started glazing over as I was reading this again. Maybe if you like the first one, you'll enjoy a bit of this, but again, it's not complete, so I just see you leaving unsatisfied. And I don't care. I'm not going to come back to this. It's going to fall off my list. So there we have it. 7 more stories for this journey. Fan fiction status time. I have now read 1,056 stories, and 493 of them have stayed on my list. So there is that. As always, I will leave links to the stories down below, so you can always read them and form your own opinions about them. And I will leave links to playlist for all these videos, my forum where I also post these in written form, and also my profile, so my fanfiction.net profile. So if you want to read that, check out the stories that are still there, or see what's yet to come, feel free. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.